The year is 2040. It feels like we're living on a knife's edge. A new Cold War has cast a long shadow over the globe, and the constant threat of a third world war hangs in the air. Nations are exchanging threats, not handshakes, and it's unsettling for everyone. The global markets are in chaos, swinging wildly and forcing early closures just to stave off a full-blown depression. It's a financial roller coaster none of us wanted to ride. On top of all this, we're fighting a battle on another front. Pandemics are resurfacing with a vengeance. Diseases we thought were history, like measles, are making a comeback because vaccination rates have plummeted. And there are new flu strains spreading like wildfire with no vaccine in sight. It feels like we're constantly trying to catch our breath in a world that's spiraling. Stay safe out there. Have you heard about the Red Death taking over social media? At first, most adults weren't too worried. Rumors were flying around, some saying it came from Russia, others pointing to Europe and Asia. But then, things got real. A news report showed this absolutely insane clip filmed on a smartphone. It showed a man attacking and eating another person. The footage was blurry, but right at the end, the person filming gets attacked, and we see the attacker's face. It wasn't human. The skin was grayish, and there was blood all around its mouth. It was horrifying. The full, uncensored video is now all over the internet. When the police showed up, they didn't even try to arrest him. They were in full hazmat gear and just opened fire. Then, the CDC chief held a press conference claiming the guy was just on drugs. But when reporters started asking questions, he just walked out. It didn't reassure anyone. What are they hiding from us? Have you heard about this new virus? The CDC apparently has no clue where it came from, just that it's from overseas. And with all the international tension, some countries have stopped sharing information. But here rests the crazy part. Social media over there is buzzing with talk of a zombie-like pandemic. The U.S. government says it's just fear-mongering, that zombies are impossible. And honestly, with no video proof, it's hard to believe. But now, rumors are hitting close to home. People are saying the virus is already here. The story goes, if you go to a hospital with certain symptoms, the CDC shows up and you just disappear. Whatever this is, it's spreading fast. There's even an entire town under quarantine, with reports of huge fires burning all night. What are they burning? It was on the news for a second then. Complete media blackout. Something strange is definitely going on. What do you think is happening? Cities are boiling over. People are hitting the streets, demanding answers about what's going on. In some places, the police managed to disperse the crowds, but in others, their attempts just fueled the fire, turning protests into full-blown riots. Everyone's scared, and the silence from the top is deafening. No one is telling us what this is. Then, something appeared online. An anonymous post, claiming this is it. The zombie apocalypse. It even listed the symptoms. For the first 24 hours, you're contagious. It spreads through saliva, sneezing, coughing, even touching someone can pass it on. Just like a common cold. You'll feel like you have the flu, a high fever, cough, achy joints. This lasts for about a week, depending on how strong your immune system is. But what happens after that week? That's the part that has everyone terrified. Your temperature steadily rises as you start to hallucinate. At this stage, death is near. Most people rush to the hospital, unknowingly infecting the emergency room. The hospital will quarantine you, administering fluids and trying to lower your body temperature, but it's a losing battle. The virus has already infected your brain, much like meningitis, and death is inevitable. Survival times vary. Some last 12 hours, others just minutes. Within 6 hours after death, something strange happens. The body becomes active again. Primitive parts of the brain reactivate, controlling basic motor functions like walking and eating. These reanimated bodies have a poor center of gravity, and are easily pushed over. Scientists are still baffled as to why they attack any living being, animals, humans, anything with a heartbeat. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember help is always available. Hey everyone, let's talk about a terrifying scenario. Imagine a virus so potent that if you're bitten, it's already in your bloodstream, heading straight for your brain and organs. There are theories that it could be fatal in as little as 12 hours. But it's not just bites. This virus is airborne. If someone infected coughs or sneezes near you, you could get it. Washing your hands won't be enough. Your best defense would be a surgical mask covering your mouth and nose, and you'd need to change it every 30 minutes for it to be effective. Safety glasses could also help prevent airborne particles from entering your eyes. And here's the scariest part. Animals can carry it too, showing signs similar to distemper, but with the aggression of rabies. They will bite anything, spreading the virus. So if you see any animal acting strangely, stay far away. It's a matter of life and death. Stay safe out there. Did you see that blog post? The one that's going viral? It's talking about a full-on apocalyptic pandemic. According to the post, organizations like the WHO and CDC are completely stumped, no answers, no vaccine. It claims that in the quarantine town, everyone died and then rose again. The fires people were reporting? Apparently, that was the military burning bodies in the street after they'd been dealt with. They're burning everything. Clothes, buildings, you name it. The Post says they don't know how contagious it is, or if it can live on surfaces, so they're taking zero chances. As you can imagine, this has sparked massive protests. People are demanding answers from the government, but all they're getting is silence. The latest rumor is that the federal government is collapsing under the pressure. Then, after a week of chaos, a presidential statement was announced. We all held our breath and listened. What happens next? The president's voice echoed through the living room, talking about a virus from an unknown origin. He said the WHO and CDC were on it, but his main message was clear. Stay home. If you have to go out, especially to crowded places like the grocery store, wear a mask and gloves. He stressed how crucial this was to cut down on the chances of getting it. Then he dropped the bombshell, a 100% death rate. If you think you have it, mask up and call your doctor immediately. I'm Nick. I'm 18. My twin sister and I were supposed to start college this fall. We all watched the press conference together. I was just numb. I stared blankly while my sister bolted to her room, slamming the door. My parents suggested moving to our lake house, away from everyone. I just nodded, too stunned to argue. On my way to my room, I saw her door was ajar. I pushed it open and found her on the bed, just crying. I didn't know what to say. I still don't. So I told them we're moving to the lake house and we need to get packed. I figured they'd want to leave as soon as possible, but my mom didn't take it well. I closed her door and went to my room to start packing. My dad had already left to get supplies and more masks. We only had one in the whole house. I started grabbing my clothes, laying them out on the bed, and stuffing them into duffel bags. I could hear Mom in her room, packing their stuff too. Then I heard her go to my sister's room. First it was muffled, then it turned into yelling. I walked out and found them arguing about why we had to leave. I stepped in and said, Sarah, we have to go for our own safety. She didn't want to leave her friends. I told her, if their families are smart, they're doing the exact same thing. She paused, then started yanking clothes out of her dresser. Mom walked past, touched my arm, and went back to her room. I looked at my sister and said, I don't want to do this either, but this is a 100% death rate. We need a fighting chance. Give it some time, I told myself. The government will get ahead of this. We'll be able to come home and rebuild. Just then, I heard the garage door groaning open. I rushed downstairs to help my dad. He was already at the back of the truck, unloading the supplies he'd managed to get. Water, food, and bullets. Lots and lots of bullets. He looked over at me, his face grim, and told me to get the guns out of the safe. "Which ones?" I asked. He paused for a long moment and looked me straight in the eye and said, "All of them." I just nodded and walked over to the safe. I pulled them out, one by one, and placed them on the workbench. As my father came inside, he told me to load the handguns, but keep the rifles and shotguns in their cases for now. I agreed and started pulling out all the boxes of bullets and shells for the weapons. I opened the ammo boxes, loading the weapons and a few extra clips for each one. Just then, my dad came back out with coolers. We packed them with food supplies, then hauled them into the truck. He grabbed ice from the garage freezer, dumping it over the cooler filled with meat. My mom and sister appeared, dropping their bags on the garage floor. Dad hugged them. "It'll be okay," he said. "We'll be at the lake house for a few weeks, tops. Until the government gets a handle on this, finds a vaccine." He was trying to be reassuring, but my sister just looked at him. "This is the end of days, Dad. You don't need to sugarcoat it." He was speechless, just rubbing her arm. "Load your bags," he finally said. Then he turned to my mom. "Did you pack one for me?" She nodded, and he smiled before heading upstairs. I loaded the ammo boxes and long guns into the truck, then handed out pistols and extra clips to everyone. Dad came back down, tossed his bag in, and shut the door. As we pulled out of the garage, I saw we weren't alone. Up and down the street, cars were being loaded. Families were getting out of town, just like us. A few neighbors just stood in their yards, watching the chaos unfold. Some even had guns, a stark reminder of how serious this was. I glanced at my sister. She still wasn't happy, but I could see a flicker of understanding in her eyes. It was strange. Everything was still working: cell phones, traffic lights, electricity. But the normalcy stopped there. Stores were being mobbed, people grabbing whatever they could. And for what? A big screen TV? My dad caught my eye and said, "Those are the ones to watch out for, the opportunists. They'll take anything from anyone." It was a chilling lesson, but a necessary one. Right now, the most dangerous people are the looters. But honestly, as time goes on, most of them won't make it. Why? Because they didn't prepare properly. They just grabbed a bunch of electronics and cash, stuff that's basically worthless if this virus keeps spreading. This means they'll get desperate and start trying to loot houses and stores, looking for actual supplies to survive. Sooner or later, they'll run into someone who is armed, and that'll be the end of them. That type of threat will probably thin out pretty quickly. No, the ones we really have to worry about are the other group, the ones who prepared, but just not well enough. They're the smart ones. They have guns and just enough supplies to get through the initial mass panic. But soon, they'll realize they don't have enough for long-term survival. That's when they'll go out hunting for more supplies, and they won't hesitate to take what they need, even if it means hurting others. And that, right there, is exactly why we're heading to the lake house. We'll be safe there. Okay, we all piled into the car and headed for the lake house. Normally, it's about a 5-hour drive, but who knows how long it'll take now. At least when we get there, we'll be safe. We'll have everything we need. See, my dad chose that spot for a reason. There's a cave right under the house, and he secretly built the house over it. For years, he's been stashing supplies down there. Yep, my dad's a prepper. My mom and sister had no idea. They would have just called him crazy for wasting time and money on nonsense. We finally hit the highway, but it was a parking lot. It seemed like everyone had the same idea: get out of the city fast. Dad glanced at Mom and said, "Looks like we're taking the scenic route." We hopped off at the next exit and took the back roads. It's slower, probably a 10-hour trip now, and my sister just keeps sighing. She really didn't want to come, but she didn't have much of a choice. We kept driving on the surface streets, trying to put as much distance as possible between us and the city. After a while, my dad finally said he thought we were far enough away to risk the highway again. But first, he wanted to fill up the tank. Mom agreed, so we pulled into the first gas station we saw. He glanced back at me. "Keep your gun handy, just in case," he said quietly. I just nodded and pulled it from the holster, resting it on my lap with my finger well off the trigger. I scanned the area. A few people were around, but no one seemed hostile. A moment later, Dad opened the driver's door. "Well, I guess things are really starting to fall apart," he said. "The machine isn't taking credit or debit cards." He asked Mom for cash. She handed him a few bills, and he headed into the store to prepay. The world had gone crazy, and we were just trying to survive. We'd stopped for gas, a risky move these days. My dad went inside to see if the pumps even worked. As he was walking out, a group of men stormed into the store. A moment later, chaos erupted. Just as my dad was getting back to the truck, the group came out, and gunfire exploded in the quiet afternoon. We all ducked onto the floorboards, hearts pounding. I risked a glance up and saw one of them sneaking up behind my dad. My training kicked in. I jumped out of the truck, raised my weapon, and fired. The man dropped. I didn't hesitate. I ran to my dad. He was hit in the arm, but alive. I helped him up, ignoring the screams from my mom and sister, and got him back in the truck. Then I walked calmly to the pump and prayed it would work. A click, and then the beautiful sound of fuel flowing. A small victory, but today it felt like everything. Just when I thought we were safe, my sister screamed. The bodies of the robbers we'd taken down were starting to twitch, then stand up, 6 of them, shambling towards us. I drew my sidearm, shouting for my family to do the same. They hesitated for a second, then their own weapons were in their hands. 4 against 6. Not bad for a marksman, but for us? Terrible. I knew what I had to do. I reached into the truck and pulled out one of our semi-auto rifles. "This should even the odds a bit," I muttered. Our only saving grace was how slow and wobbly they were. I took aim, squeezed the trigger, and chaos exploded all over again. The creatures dropped, and this time they stayed down. I started pumping gas again, but another one rose, groaning as it limped toward me. Before I could even react, my dad raised his weapon and put it down for good. For the moment, the coast was clear. I finished pumping the gas while my father, still hurt, stood there watching over me. I put the pump handle away, and he told me to get back into the truck. He climbed into the driver's seat. My mom asked him if he could even drive. He just looked at her and said, "What choice do we have? Normally, we'd have a 4-hour drive left, but today, who knows? We need to keep moving, get to the cabin. All our supplies are there. We'll be safe for a while." Mom nodded. He started the truck and looked at all of us, thanking us for saving him. Mom smiled, and I told him he'd do the same for any of us. He smiled back. "Of course," he said, "you're my family. We protect each other." And then we drove off into an uncertain future, but at least we were together. Phantom static, where the phantoms speak through the static.